Imagine being obese. I'm talking clinically obese here, but every time you look in the mirror, you see a thin person looking back at you. It's never happened to me, but it happened to this lady here beside me, Sarah Bird, who spent most of her adult life suffering from what you call
Fatorexia.
Fatorexia. Now, this was something you identified. How would you describe fatorexia?
Well, for me, Eamon, it was, I just couldn't see, after years of dieting where I knew I was fat, towards the sort of, when I got to my sort of mid-30s, I'd got to the point where I'd been so fat and so thin over a period of time, the classic yo-yo dieting that a lot of us do, I couldn't see the fat anymore. And I'd got to this point where I really didn't think, I thought I was probably a bit overweight.
Yes.
But I'm a tall lady, I'm 5'10", and I thought probably I'm in proportion. And I really didn't know I was obese until I went to the doctors, thinking I was probably a little bit overweight, and he said, you are actually obese, and it sort of knocked me for six.
Yes, but you hadn't been going through this sort of mental torment, had you? What some people would say that maybe you were at ease with yourself, you were comfortable with your own body.
Yeah, I think probably some of the time I have been. But the last sort of few years before I realised that I'd got something that wasn't usual, that's when it sort of hit me that this must be something strange. You know, how can you be a mum and have a job and be sort of a normal chap and not see that you're fat? It was ridiculous.
It sounds, you know, when I was reading about you, it's like you were in denial, because you said, you know, I like nice clothes, I always do my hair, you're very glamorous, you had a good job, you know, so it's almost like I just won't think about my weight. So, you know, some people might say, oh, well, giving it a name and fatorexia, which I have to say is something you've come up with, is definitely not a medical term.
No, it's totally my
that's
word.
like,
yeah.
well, that's just like an excuse for allowing yourself to be overweight.
I think that's been levelled at me, I have to say, and in my book I've sort of said I'm expecting that. I don't need to give an excuse, it's just the thing that was the only way I could explain it to myself. I needed to understand how I can be
fat and not know. Do you know what I think's great? Everybody will tell you what you look like, and they'll talk about you behind your back and all that sort of thing. Right, the whole thing about this and your book is this, explaining it to yourself. Some people don't. I've got half of what you got, because in my mind I'm sort of okay till I look in the mirror, and then I frighten the life out of myself. You see, that's what I have. But the signs, that the realization that you actually have to do something about this are what? I mean, day-to-day things that actually should provide the alarm call, the wake-up call, is what?
Well, what we do is, when we are fatorexic, and I think there are millions of us out there, we've been hiding it from ourselves. So we clip the labels out of clothes, and I'm sure a lot of your readers will emulate with that straight away. We clip the labels out of our clothes. We're sort of using smaller and smaller mirrors because we don't want to see the whole picture, because we're conditioning ourselves that we're not really that fat. And it's not a conscious choice. This is not saying, waking up in the morning going, oh, I'm fat, I'm going to pretend I'm not. It's really not that. It's a bit more serious.
It's denial, isn't it?
It is,
but there's some brilliant
yes.
signs that wake you up with this one. And getting into the bath, tell us about that.
Well, bath damming is one of the sort of ways I'm trying to help people realise that they could be fat, because if you've got fatorexia, this is really potentially life-threatening. If you're going on and on and on, getting fatter and fatter, you can't stop.
Explain bath damming.
Well, bath damming is when your backside is so big, you sit in the bath and the water level is a different level in front of you as it is behind. And again, what I'm trying to do is make it not stressful for people, because when you're fat and you're trying to hide this subconsciously, you then end up being, you don't know that you're fat. So all of a sudden you're trying to hide this from yourself, and you need to understand, have a wake-up call. The doctor was my wake-up call. But for some people who are doing all these hiding strategies and employing this, then all of a sudden I could be brutally frank with people and say, if you're having to shove talcum powder in between your legs when you're sort of walking down in the summer, then I'm sorry, but you're fat.
Because you're chafing. People
will chafe, and I don't want to do that. That's
you know,
awful.
did your partner or your really good friends never say to you, Sarah, come on,
well,
you know,
on and off I've been like this all my life, Ruth. You know, for 20 odd years I've been fat, thin, fat, thin, fat, thin. So I either am fat or I am thin, and I don't know where I stand on that.
But when you know, we've interviewed lots of people with anorexia, and they actually say when they look in the mirror, they physically see a much fatter person.
Yes.
Did you physically see a much slimmer person?
Yes.
Or did you just imagine a much slimmer person?
You know, if you just look, I tried to do it, as I say, in a stress-free way for people. I don't want to add to the stress. That when you sort of do look in the mirror, you're seeing someone that you look at the best features. If you've got a nice smile, you might look at that, or you know, whatever. Look at to hide
what I want to know is
yourself.
what does this book do for me? When if you're to acknowledge, if you're to identify that you're a fatorexic, is this the cure? Is admission the cure for you? Or?
Yeah, I think it will empower you to feel a lot better about yourself. It's not just about people who can't see it, it's for every fat person out there. Fatorexia and Fatorexia.com, there's ideas on there to help you stop getting fatter. And instead of saying to someone like me who's got probably who had 5 stone to lose, Sarah, go and lose 5 stone, it's like saying, Sarah, instead of walking the dog around the village, go and climb Mount Everest. I can't do all that at once. I just can't do it.
But let me ask you, is it just another excuse? Oh, I'm a fatorexic, so that's okay. I can be this size.
I think it's a reason. I don't think it's an excuse. I think it's a reason. And what if people emulate with this? And what I mean, I know they do because I've spoken to hundreds of women now, and they do emulate with it. And they're saying, actually, I can't lose 5 stone. I can't get my head around that. But what if I just stop getting fatter? So what if we did just stop getting fatter? What if this is genuine, that it's in our minds, just like anorexia is a psychological disorder? What if this is in our minds and we can stop getting fatter at first, then we can deal with
let me say,
anything.
if this is reviewed by any of the columnists or whatever it is, they will simply say, you're deluding yourself, and they will say this.
Yes.
They will say, you are greedy and you are lazy. And that's the accusation levelled all the time at people who are overweight. What would you say to that, Sarah?
Well, I mean, some of the feedback from this Daily Mail article yesterday, one chap put on, you can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. I mean, how rude. How awful is that? I don't really care what those people are saying. What I'm saying is that if you're fat and you're stressed with fat, there are other things that you can really do to help yourself, and I am not stressed anymore about it. I am still fat, and I'm not saying I'm fat and proud, I'm delighted to be fat. I'm saying that I'm a lot better now because I have something I can latch onto and say, I am never going to be any fatter. Today, I can sit here and say, for the first time in my adult life, I will never be any fatter because I can see myself as I truly am.
Will you continue to lose the weight?
I do hope I do, because I'm not going to leap on the scales. I'm not going to diet, but I'm going to amend my life with using these triggers that I've written about in my book, things that I'll try and lower the trigger. You know, I want to be a little bit fitter, so I'm going to walk further with my dog. I want to eat more vegetables, so I will do that, but it's little bits, and I'm in control because I am, you know, normal sort of chap. I have a life, and I can do these tiny little bits much easier than somebody saying, lose 5 stone, fatty, go away, lose 5 stone, and then everything will be fine. But it can't be, because I've been doing it for 20 years and obviously failed dismally because I'm still fat.
It's fascinating. It's another way of looking at everything, and it's very, very interesting. And thanks for raising the fatorexic debate, Sarah. Thank you very much indeed. That's Sarah Bird Murphy. Thank you.
I'd love to know what you think about that, because I've never heard that before. It's interesting. Let us know what you think.